I'm William Herman, and this is my first round NFL mock draft for the upcoming 2024 NFL Draft. With the first pick, I have the Chicago Bears selecting quarterback Caleb Williams out of USC. Obviously, the Bears moved on from Justin Fields this offseason. They need a quarterback. The best quarterback in this draft is Caleb Williams. Williams, throughout the whole draft process, has pretty checked every box, every question mark that the Bears have thrown at him. This pick is all but finished and should be by Thursday afternoon. Caleb Williams will be headed to Chicago with the first overall pick. Now for the second overall pick, where the draft really starts, I have the Washington Commanders selecting quarterback Drake May. It was originally reported by Adam Schefter and many people at ESPN that the Commanders actually preferred Jaden Daniels with the new offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, and schematically they wanted kind of a more mobile quarterback. But I think they're going to go Drake May. A lot of reports came out that Daniels may not want to play for the Commanders, and that the 30 visit didn't go as well as they hoped. And obviously Adam Peters wouldn't reveal who they would be taking. So when people say they know who they're going to be taking, no one knows who they're going to be taking. So I'm taking a guess here, and I think they go with Drake May. I think Drake May is a more NFL-ready quarterback. I think he could go in. He could start tomorrow if he needed to. I think Jaden Daniels is just going to be a little bit more of a learning curve. But yeah, so I have Drake May, quarterback UNC, heading to DC with a second overall pick. Now for the third overall pick, I have the New England Patriots selecting quarterback Jaden Daniels out of LSU. The Heisman Trophy winner falls to New England at number 3. A lot of people consider this spot to be a heavy trade-out spot, but I think the New England Patriots will stick at 3 and will go with the Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels, as May and Williams went 1 and 2. Now, at number 4, I have my first trade in the first round. I have the Minnesota Vikings sending 11 and 23 and moving up to number 4 with the Arizona Cardinals. The Minnesota Vikings recently acquired Houston's first-round pick at 23, so they have 2 first-round picks, so that obviously, with that kind of package, they can move up for a quarterback, which it looks like it seems they want to do, as the only quarterback on their roster currently is Sam Darnold. Kirk Cousins obviously left in free agency, so I think they go up and they take J.J. McCarthy, and he can be paired with a great offensive mind in Kevin O'Connell, and I think he sits a year even if he has to, and can learn and can build with that roster. They have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, T.J. Hawkinson, so I really think the Vikings are in a good spot there with J.J. if he can learn and sit behind Kevin O'Connell and the rest of the crew in Minnesota. And now with the 5th overall pick, the first non-quarterback being taken is the other best player in the draft, along with Caleb Williams, my favorite player in the draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. The name says it himself. His father, former Hall of Fame receiver with the Indianapolis Colts. I have him landing in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert, Joe Ortiz, and John Harbaugh. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr., one of the best college careers we've ever seen at Ohio State. Very, very polished route runner. He's physical. He has some versatility to him, can play inside, can play out. And he's the best receiver in this class, and obviously with the Chargers wide receiver room looking like Quentin Johnston and Josh Palmer at the moment, and Hayden Hurst, they need a weapon for Justin Herbert, and what better weapon than the best weapon in this draft at number 5. Then at number 6, I have the New York Giants selecting wide receiver Malik Nabers from LSU. Nabers had, one of the best, if not the best, season in college football this year. Put together a very, very good season. Fast receiver, explosive receiver, dynamic receiver. And Daniel Jones looks to be the future of the Giants. They locked him up to that $81 million deal. So I think they stay at wide receiver. It's obviously a need, and Nabers will step in and be the wide receiver 1 for the Giants. It can definitely help them spread the field and, score some touchdowns. Then at number 7, I have another blue-chip prospect similar to the Brock Bowers, the Caleb Williams, the Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, and this time it being the first offensive lineman, Joe Alt. Tackle out of Notre Dame, very, very good player. Can be starting left tackle for 10 to 15 years for Tennessee. Also with Tennessee going in the direction of offense through free agency with guys like Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard, I think they pivot kind of the trenches. With this time being Joe Alt, Notre Dame offensive tackle to help that line for Will Levis. Then at number 8, I have the Atlanta Falcons selecting edge rusher Dallas Turner from Alabama. Turner is a very, very good player. The Falcons have obviously been looking for some help on the defensive line. They've struggled getting pressure at the quarterback. In free agency, they brought in Kirk. They brought in Darnell Mooney. They already had, of course, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. So I think the defense is really kind of going this direction. And they take most people's Best edge rusher in the draft, Dallas Turner. I happen to prefer a different player, which I'll get to later, but Dallas Turner is most people's favorite, so I think they go with the kind of consensus in Dallas Turner. Then at number 9, I have the Arizona Cardinals moving up 2 spots and giving up a third-round pick to the Chicago Bears. This trade makes sense for both sides. And I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Rome Odunze, wide receiver, Washington. The Cardinals are obviously very, very in need of some wide receiver help. They let Hollywood Brown go. They let DeAndre Hopkins go a couple years ago. So they need a wide receiver for Kyler Murray, and I think Odunze's skill set fits what the Cardinals want to do schematically, and also with Kyler Murray's skill set. He's kind of like a taller Devontae Adams, catches everything, savvy route runner. So I think Odunze in Arizona, and only having to give him up a third to move up 2 spots, maybe a fourth, can work out well for them. And then at number 10, I have the few blue chip prospects, one of the best players in this draft, Brock Bowers. Such a good hands catcher, catches everything, dynamic athlete at his size, can help out Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, can elevate this offense in totality. And Bowers is such a good player. The really only knock on him is his blocking ability, which will obviously get better with time. And I think him in New York is a great, great scenario for all sides. Then at number 11, I have the Chicago Bears move back 2 spots with the Cardinals, but they still get my favorite edge rusher in this class, in Laete Latu from UCLA. Such a good, unique pass rusher. It's like he's doing martial arts, his hand placements, the ability, the bend, the speed. It's all great. Really, the only knock on him is the injury history. He was medically retired from football, but he got back, had the best pass rushing grade in PFF this year, was the best pass rusher in the country this year. Really proved he's first-round pick caliber, and I think the Bears will see that, and they'll take him at number 11. So they'll end the draft with Latu and Caleb Williams, and I think they'll feel happy after night 1 with both players on the defense and offense. Then at number 12, I have the Denver Broncos taking Jared Verse, edge rusher, Florida State. A lot of rumors around the Broncos maybe taking Bo Nix, trading up for J.J. McCarthy, but I think if the price is too much, they can kind of stay there, and as they see the edge rushers kind of fall off, I think they want to take Verse and snag him while they can, help out that defensive line. They could maybe go corner here, but I think they'll go Verse, as the Broncos usually make some questionable moves. Then at number 13, I have the Las Vegas Raiders selecting Terrion Arnold. Raiders staff was present in his pro day. They've been kind of linked to him. They met with him multiple times, 30-visit pro day, combine. I think they like Arnold. They obviously love Jaden Daniels, love the quarterbacks, but the price is too much to move up. They can kind of pivot and go in a different direction. Obviously, the Raiders have Nate Hobbs in the slot, and the nickel kind of Jack Jones, who's kind of brought in last year. So I think adding another corner in Arnold, who can be a Pro Bowler, future Pro Bowler in his first year's safety converted to corner, can be a very, very good piece for that Patrick Graham-led defense. Then at number 14, I have a team that is almost very, I could say, lucky to get this player at number 14. I have the New Orleans Saints selecting offensive tackle Olu Fashanu from Penn State. The New Orleans Saints are in the offensive line market with guys like Joe Alt already being taken. They can take this, and only one tackle being taken, very thankfully. They can go with Olu Fashanu for some much-needed offensive line help. Very, very good player, and to get him at 14 would be very, very good. At number 15, I have the Indianapolis Colts selecting Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback, Toledo. Obviously, the MAC conference, the Toledo corner competed in, isn't the best, but the film speaks for itself. The traits, the speed, and Chris Ballard tends to go for these athletic, toolsy kind of players like Anthony Richardson he did last year. Mitchell kind of fits that mold. He has that 4.33 speed. There are some questions if he can handle the man, quote-unquote, press coverage, but he's very good in off coverage, very good in zone coverage. In Mitchell at 15 feels like a Colts pick. Then at number 16, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Troy Fautanu, tackle/guard, University of Washington. He gets to stay home. Last year, obviously, Washington had a very good season. The offensive coordinator of Washington is now the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. They can grub in. Fautanu can get together again and stay at home in Seattle, and I think this is a good pick. The Seattle Seahawks obviously need some line help. They're going to roll with Geno. They got Sam Howell. Not going to reach for Penix, but I think they get a really, really good player. And day one caliber starter in Troy Fautanu at 16. Then at number 17, I have the Buffalo Bills trading up to number 17 with the Jacksonville Jaguars to select Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver at LSU. The Bills obviously traded Stephon Diggs away in the offseason. They need a receiver. They have Shakir. They have Curtis Samuel. But Brian Thomas could fit as that first, second, third receiver combined with them together. Fits that mold. He's kind of 6'4", good route runner, good hands. And I think he's the consensus number 4 receiver in this class for most people. So I think Brian Thomas Jr. being able to get another receiver for Josh Allen in that offense is a smart move for Brian Beane and company. So I have them doing that at number 17. Now at number 18, I have the Cincinnati Bengals selecting Byron Murphy II, defensive tackle from Texas. Very good. He's kind of undersized, but he's very, very unique in the way he attacks and goes about his business and rushing the quarterback. And I think the way the Bengals have looked the past couple of years, that's been that defense that's been holding them back kind of come December, January, those winter months. So they need some help, and what better way to do that with the best defensive tackle in the draft in Byron Murphy. Then at number 19, I have the Rams selecting Talise Fuaga, Oregon State tackle/guard. The Rams obviously don't have too many first-round picks often, so I bet with Sean McVay leading that crew, they're going to want to go with an offensive player in the first round. That's just my guess. And I think Fuaga at 19 would be a very good pick. Matthew Stafford performed very, very well last season, so there aren't many questions about replacing him. But what better way to help him than get Fuaga at 19? I think that's a great, great match. Then at number 20, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who originally I thought would maybe be in the wide receiver market in this draft, but with Thomas already being taken, they stick and they just take best player available, who a player I'm really high on in Jackson Powers-Johnson, center/guard from University of Oregon. Pittsburgh obviously needs some offensive line help in this guy. Jackson Powers-Johnson gives them some versatility. He can give them some guard snaps, give them some center snaps, and he can start day one. A lot of these players I say start conservative. He's another one of these guys that could truly, truly start if they needed to in a game tomorrow. I believe so. That's a good pick at 20. Then moving on to 21, I have the Miami Dolphins selecting Amarius Mims, offensive tackle, University of Georgia. Mims, had he stayed another year and provided some more tape for scouts and personnel, I think he would be a top 10 pick next year. Their only concern is really the injuries. There's been some injury history with him. But I think he'll be a very, very good tackle, even if it takes a year. He's still young. But yeah, when injuries are the only knock on you, although they can be concerning, I think that's a good sign for the player he is. And obviously, he comes from the competitive conference of the SEC, the best conference of college football, so we can see that translation kind of come to fruition, hopefully, for Miami and Tua. Then at number 22, I have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting cornerback, safety / nickelback / punt returner Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. The Philadelphia Eagles selecting DeJean out of Iowa. There obviously comes some concerns. Can he play outside corner? Is he athletic enough to stick him on the outside and put him on an island? I don't know, but when a player that has that much versatility where he can play safety, he can obviously provide on special teams. He can play some corner. Maybe if it's not all the way outside. So I think that's a good pick at 22 for Howie Roseman and kind of gives Vic Fangio, the new defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, some versatility, some kind of plug-and-play ability, Swiss Army knife ability with Cooper DeJean at 22. Then at 23, I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Johnny Newton, defensive tackle / lineman from University of Illinois. Newton, very, very good tape, put together very, very good campaign in 2023, 2024. Big Ten player, defensive player of the year. The only knock on him really is his size, but as we've seen, there's a lot of successful defensive tackles in the NFL, despite their being small size, that kind of 6 feet, 6'1" frame. But I think Newton will end up being a very, very good NFL player. And I think coming out of the draft for Monty Austin with Rome Odunze and Johnny Newton would be a very, very good 2 picks for Arizona on night 1. Then, moving on to 24, I have the Dallas Cowboys selecting J.C. Latham, offensive tackle, Alabama. Cowboys obviously want to keep Dak, although there haven't been many conversations and their front office has been kind of quiet throughout this whole offseason. I think they can take J.C. Latham and kind of give them some, maybe a starter day 1 with some offensive line help from Bama. Then at 25, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Nate Wiggins, corner, Clemson. Nate Wiggins is a player I'm very, very high on. Super, super fast, kind of that 4.29. I think he ran at the Combine. Very good player. Green Bay's obviously in some need of the help of the secondary. The offense was very good last season in the playoffs. They almost went to the NFC Championship game had they not choked against the 49ers. So I think getting a player like Nate Wiggins, hustle, good speed, can play multiple sides of the ball, can stick him on an island, can stick him in off-man coverage. So I think he's a good player at 25 for the Green Bay Packers. Then at 26, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who quietly put together one of the better off seasons in the NFL this year, taking Chop Robinson, edge rusher from Penn State. Robinson is another athletic freak, really good speed. I think he ran 4.44 at the Combine. The Bucs love their athletic defensive linemen like last year with Elijah Cansey, and I think with Todd Bowles' scheme and what they kind of want to do there, Chop's a player they'll probably be high on. And I think he fits Tampa Bay and what they want to do moving forward, as he can play edge rusher for them. Then at 27, I have the Las Vegas Raiders moving up with the Cardinals to select Michael Penix, quarterback, Washington. The Raiders obviously have been linked to quarterbacks throughout the draft process, like J.J. McCarthy and highly mostly Jaden Daniels. But as those quarterbacks and the price was too rich to move up, I think they kind of wait, see Penix still on the board, make a move with the Arizona Cardinals, get up and go grab a player like Michael Penix, who really had one of the best seasons in college football last year. There are some concerns with his age. But you can't deny the arm talent and the tape he put on this year, and the injury history is there, obviously, like I said, with the age, but I think that's a good move at 27 to go up and grab a player like Michael Penix to compete with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. Then at 28, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry. As they traded back from 17 to 28, they still get a player who can help out their secondary on defense, and Jacksonville desperately needs some help on defense, so I think getting a player like Kool-Aid at 28 is a very, very good move. Then at 29, this one's kind of an interesting pick. I have the Detroit Lions selecting Zach Frazier, interior offensive lineman from West Virginia, and I know what you're thinking, Zach Frazier in the first round. Yes, I think the Lions will take a player that will kind of be like, what? Why did they do that? But Brad Holmes, every year, he says, we take the players who's drafted on our board. We don't care what anyone else thinks, and it usually pans out. Like, they took Jahmyr Gibbs high. That pick was slandered on by all of media, and he ended up panning out. Same with Jack Campbell, had a very good year. Laporta over a player like Michael Mayer last year was even hated on. But all of their picks came out and performed last year, so I think if they get a player like Zach Frazier, who I bet they're high on for the interior, they love their linemen, very strong line, Dan Campbell mentality, I think Zach Frazier could be an option at 29 for Detroit. Then at 30, I have my Baltimore Ravens selecting offensive tackle Jordan Morgan from University of Arizona. Baltimore has met with him at his pro day. They met with him at the combine. Morgan is a player who not only fits a need, but kind of is in that 30 range where they can kind of go best player available of Ravens philosophy. They could consider a receiver at the spot, but I just think at this point in time, they've been linked to Morgan throughout the process. I think the pick could be Morgan. I have them sticking with him at 30. Then at 31, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting Graham Barton, guard from Duke. Niners can kind of go. They have that privilege of going best player available. As the former Super Bowl runner-up, they can kind of just see who falls into their lap at 31. This time it happens to be Barton. Then at 32, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting a player I absolutely love. There are some character concerns, which could be an issue, but I really don't think it's too much of an issue, and that's A.D. Mitchell out of Texas. Very, very, has that unique ability or combination of size and speed, 6'4", very good athletic tools, savvy route runner, so I think at 32, Veach will see Mitchell on the board, and they'll just run up and make that pick at 32. So yeah, those are my first 32 picks for the first round of the NFL mock draft. We'll see how these pan out.